Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So tonight I want to bring you another reaction to a video that I came across a few days ago. It's funny how I stumbled across this video because many of you in the United States will know that they were talking about banning the TikTok platform off of the web in the United States, and it actually went down for a little while. And then I noticed it was up like the next day. Like, I haven't really figured that out. They said there was some type of deal worked out with Trump or something. But in the last few days, I had spent a lot of time just looking at some videos on YouTube, and quite a few caught my attention. I don't have anything on TikTok yet, but I like the format because people get right to the point of what they're talking about. Video could be a minute, 30 seconds, a minute and a half, really short videos, but some of the videos say so much in just that short period of time that you can make a whole video from what they're talking about. This video definitely fits this category. I have to say that what this guy was talking about in this video, I have to rank it up there with. There's a post that I did on the blackbraziltoday.com blog some years ago, and it broke down why it seems that Black Brazilian men seem to have this thing about preferring like people closer to the white standard when it's time to find a partner, trying when they're looking for the right woman. It seems like they just give preference to white women. And again, for years, Black Brazilian women have pointed this out, by like, what's the deal with all of these Black men seeming to have a preference for white women when it's time to have long-term relationships, start a family, have kids. They will hang out, they'll have situationships, they'll, just have some fun with the Black girls, but when they want to have a real relationship, they're going to dump the Black girl and get with a white girl. Now, some people have said this generally happens with top name soccer players, athletes, what the so-called high value man, right? But in my time in Sao Paulo, for example, it was like I saw that everywhere. It didn't seem to matter what status the Black man was. I saw it everywhere. I was like, wow, it's like, if we're talking about the embranquecimento, the whitening of the population agenda, I saw it in full effect in Sao Paulo. It was like really, I swear, it just seemed like it was hard, and just to see just regular Black couples in the streets. That's how I saw it. I would love to hear other people chime in on their experiences in Sao Paulo or Rio. And there are people who have talked about this already. So it's not something that I was just seeing on my own. I mean, people have posted comments in the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel saying the same thing, like, dang, that's what I saw too, right? So anyway, I wanted to talk about this video today. It's a short video. It's like, but this one, I think it was about 3 or 4 minutes long, but the guy goes into what it is of how kind of like Brazilian society influences Black men to have this type of preference, right? It's almost like a peer pressure thing. So like I did a blog post some years ago from this Afro-Brazilian guy from Rio. He was working on a PhD over in Finland. He ended up marrying a white woman, but he said if he had the knowledge now, for what he had when he was dating in Rio when he was a younger man, he probably would not have married a white woman. He actually said that. But he did break it down, just show what day to day is like and how Black men, Black boys, Black teenagers, when he was growing up in Rio, they just seemed to put white girls on a pedestal. It's like, okay, you're going to have some fun with the Black girl, but, you don't want to have a relationship with her. She wants to be, she wants to have a legitimate relationship, but they always like, I'm not ready for a relationship. And then they're playing around with a Black girl. Then a white girl comes along, and all of a sudden you see this guy holding hands walking down the street with the white girl. So Black women have complained about this for a number of years. And this was around 2012, 2013 when I became aware of the issue. The first time that it really came to me, I had read a book some years ago by, I think he was an anthropologist. His name was John Burdick. I just found out that well, I didn't just find out, maybe about 6 to 9 months ago, I discovered John Burdick had actually died. But this was when I first started studying stuff about Brazil. This was one of the books that got me really intrigued about this situation. He did this book called Blessed Anastasia. It says Women, Race, and Popular Christianity in Brazil. It's a lot to do with the church, the evangelical movement in Brazil. But the first chapter in the book, or maybe even the forward, I can't remember, he talked about being at some type of party and he saw all of the, it was like teenagers or early 20s people, and they were all dancing, having a good time. But he said over in the corner of that club or wherever they were, there was a bunch of black girls over there dancing with each other all by themselves. And, he was looking like, what's the deal? Why are you guys over here all by yourselves? It's like, black guys don't ask us to dance. And that's the first time that I became aware of this issue. Now, as I would get more into this years later, I really began to understand that this is really an issue. Now, this is like somewhere between 2001 and 2004, maybe. But then 8 years later, about 2012, 2013, this became a real issue on the internet. So I was like, oh, this is really a big thing because when you get into Brazil, they teach you, oh, well, we don't have a problem, dating across racial lines. But then when you start digging a little bit deeper to see how people really see this, like the truth really starts to come out. Like beneath the facade that we're all equal and love has no color, they say amor no tem cor. You really start to see which type of women in Brazil are more valued. So I want to talk a little bit about this today. I'm doing an overdub on what the guy had to say because it was intriguing. Like I said, next to the post that I did some years ago, this has got to be the most honest, to the point admission about how men feel, when the society at large says, don't, you don't want to deal with a black girl, go get you a white girl. That's what you need to have if you want to be the man, right? Anyway, before I get into this, definitely like this video, share this video. Maybe there's other people who might be interested in reading about or hearing about this, right? Subscribe to the channel, Black Brazil Today, and definitely click on that notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. So let's get into this video for today, and I'm gonna break this down a little bit more. So this is the brother, I forget his name. Yeah, if I remembered his name, I would tell you right now. I've seen a couple of his other videos. Like, wow, I definitely have to feature this guy on the channel again. So the ever popular topic of interracial unions, besides the Brazilian rhetoric that says, oh, well, we have interracial relationships here because we don't see color. Color's not a big issue. We don't segregate ourselves like you Americans do. It's intriguing in this day and age because the interracial thing is growing by leaps and bounds in the United States. So this is why I think this is kind of intriguing, because this is something that's been going on in Brazil for decades, you could say. Some people would say centuries. Interracial unions, that's the first thing that, that this video is going to be about. Why, giving some insight as to why the interracial thing seems to be so big. What are some of the real reasons? I mean, yeah, sure, of course, I've always admitted that people can fall in love across racial lines, but it just seems to be more to it. Like there's some type of agenda in Brazil, and I've uncovered that for a number of videos. Definitely go back and check in the archive, and you'll hear more of what I'm talking about. Why do so many black men seem to prefer white women? I mean, as I said again, you happen to fall in love with a person who's, a different color or race than you. That's one thing. But what I'm saying is, when you're black or brown and you refuse to even look at a woman who looks something like you, I mean, that's problematic. I mean, that's just my opinion. Obviously, people don't have to listen to my opinion, but I have the right to share my opinion. When you look at the men, the black and brown men, the pretos and pardos, they call them in Brazil, the soccer players, the musicians, the actors, the elite black and brown Brazilian men, it was like, I thought it was an exaggeration, but when I started really living in Sao Paulo, I was like, I saw this everywhere. Like, wow, why does it seem like if you look online, and believe me, I followed this topic for a number of years, like elite black and brown men in Brazil, they almost always are going to have a white woman by their side. How does that happen? The other thing I always like to point out is, like, regardless of what I say, how people get into that viewpoint that, aligns people, that says I should have a white woman by my side. It's not for me to say why that is. A person could say to themselves, because I love this person, but it's going to be on that person themselves to be able to do the self-analysis and say, do I really love this person because of who she is, or have I been manipulated or engineered to prefer women who look like her? That's only the question that it's only a question that only the individual person can ask or ever ask. And oftentimes what I'm finding is that with a rediscovery or a discovery of a Black identity, people start making questions about some of their dating selections. I've seen it a number of times with this individuals that I've known over the years, people who, my family told me to bring a white girl home. It was only years later with the rise of Black identity, the spread of Black identity in Brazil, that people started questioning, making questions of like, do I love this person, or did I just do something that society says, hey, the standard woman is to get something closer to white, right? So anyway, this is the guy who I want to overdub the video that he made. He says, I was embarrassed to have a Black girlfriend. Man discusses how the culture in Brazil teaches Black men to give more value to white women. Definitely, he broke it down. It's a short video, but he says something that this is something that I've suspected all along. It's like I said, it's not for me to say, it's for me to give voice to Black Brazilians who are actually talking about their experiences and what it is growing up in Brazil, particularly people of African descent. So what I want to do right now is just overdub what this guy had to say. Then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about it. Look, there was a video of mine that had a certain repercussion, so more or less, right? For me, it's a lot. So I'm going to explain everything in this video here, okay? Yeah, I've always been attracted to Black women. I've always been attracted to Black women, but my friends have always been attracted to another type of woman, which you already know what type it is, Black men. So whenever I was with a Black woman, I'd show the photo to my best friend. He'd always say she was ugly. He preferred blondes with straight hair and brunettes, white girls with straight hair. Okay, whatever. But then I asked him, but why, bro? Don't you get with Black women? Then he said, bro, she looks like my sister and stuff. Then I was like, wow, old man, crazy. Imagine a white guy not being with someone white because they look alike and they look like siblings. So, okay, but I took that into my life, because whenever I had a reference of a girlfriend of mine when I was growing up, my mother always said that the white girl I dated was prettier. My mother is Black, my sisters are Black. So, like, for them, the reference of beautiful women are always white women. So whenever I went to get with the Black girl, I'd always hide her. I wouldn't take pictures. I wouldn't hold her hand. And I wouldn't take her to a restaurant, anywhere, until I dated a white girl. And I wanted to show her off, and I wanted to show everyone. I did everything that I didn't do with the Black woman. I did everything to the contrary. Show her off, give her gifts, take pictures in the restaurants, but it was a status thing. I ended up feeling a little bad. Like, when I saw a Black couple, I deified the guy. More the guy than the girl, because Black women, she has to relate more to Black men than Black men relate to Black women. So I deified him. I said, man, what a cool Black guy, bro. This Black guy has good self-esteem. This Black guy has personality. And that's what I wanted to be, And this is how I was, but I was like that. But I was a bit embarrassed. How was I going to be accepted by other people if I was dating a Black woman? Until I ended my relationship and started showing off with Black women and connecting more. And like, I saw that the relationship with a white person served me a lot. So I don't regret it. Because today, in fact, I know what I like, Today, in fact, like, when I go to deal with a person, you really look at the person like that and say, gee, beautiful hair, beautiful skin tone is what you like. You feel much better. So guys, date. Don't date for status.
por beleza.
I don't date for beauty or skin tone.
E nem por tom de pele.
Date because you connect.
Por você se conectar.
If you connect with a person,
se você se conectar
I connect
com a
with
pessoa,
black people.
Eu me conecto com
It's not about
negras.
color,
Não é pela
but it's
cor,
more about what comes behind it than that person will. For the connection I'll have with them over time.
Pela conexão que eu vou ter com ela ao longo do tempo.
Unfortunately, I didn't manage to have with the white person.
É uma história longa, eu não quero.
It's a long story, and I don't want to go into it so the video doesn't go viral and things come into my head. But check it.
Mas assim,
I'm in love with black women. I look at a black woman on the street, I drool. I find them very bonita, very beautiful, and that's what I want for my future wife. I want to look at her and I want to say, man, you're the object. You're my object of desire. You're what I find beautiful. And I'm not going to be this black guy who starts making money and exchange my wife for a white woman. Understand? Okay, so you see what the brother had to say there. You know, I appreciate, just the honesty that he laid down right there. There's actually, I saw one video as of right now. Well, a few days later, I saw a video of a woman reacting to it because it was funny because when the woman watched this video, Afro-Brazilian woman, and she was like, she had no idea. Black women for a long time have been wondering why it is that so many black men seem to just push them aside, stampede over black women to get the white women. And we're not going to speak for, millions of men, obviously, but we know from what I've seen, there have been enough black men over the years who have admitted, what goes on in the mind that seems to lead black men to put these white women on a pedestal. And so this is part of what this guy is talking about. And as you can see towards the end, he actually recorded another video. And this is another video that he posted. And the caption here says, "The black man who only dates white women has a lack of self-esteem." So I wanted to break this down because, again, it's only a 4-minute video, but so many things that he said here. Basically, he's breaking it down and saying, well, it's almost like peer pressure. Your friends look at the black woman like, dude, why is you with her? You can do better. Go get you a white girl. The friends say, look, no, I prefer white women with straight hair, whether they're blonde or brunette. I want somebody with straight hair. They're prettier. And then this other thing right here, this is funny because I know this is true because when I've had open discussions with some black men in Brazil, this is something that they've said, bro, what I'm gonna date a black girl for? She looks like my sister. I've had a lot of black Brazilian men say that to me. Like, it's really a problem that somebody, you see a black woman who might be attractive, but she reminds you too much of their sister. And so for that reason, like, I don't want that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've never heard a white person say that. I have a very good friend down in Brazil who I speak to maybe once a week. And this guy has told me this too. Like, man, I can't see myself getting with a black girl. For one thing, they're too bossy. But for another thing, they look like my sister. What I'm going to date a girl look like my sister for? That's some serious issues right there. It's like, again, the rejection, if it makes you just wonder how the person sees themselves. Because if you reject a person that looks like you, what does that say about how you see black people? Then it gets further. Listen to what he said. He said his mother said that the white girls he dated were always prettier. He says, my mother is black, my sisters are black, but they have a preference or reference for beautiful women are always white women. This goes into the Eurocentrism that people who are non-white, who are living under a system that values, whiteness more. We've all lived under that system, right? So that speaks directly to what is established as beautiful in Brazil. What is the standard for beauty in Brazil? And again, you pull it up and you'll see mostly white women here. These are like, poster girls for like beer commercials you'll find in Brazil. Very rarely, when you see a black woman, this was a controversy, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago where I will have to talk about this one time because every time they put a black woman in such a commercial, they're going to over-sexualize her. And this became like the subject of a lawsuit some years ago. But, this woman here is Julia País. Is it Julia or Juliana? I can't remember. But some people argue as to whether this woman is considered white. Obviously, she's of mixed race. Some people say she's black. Some people say, no, she's a mixed woman. But generally, when you look at the pictures of what we call the garota de propaganda, the poster girls, generally they're going to look like white women, right? When you look at what they call the beautiful Brazilian woman. This is the phenotype that you're generally going to get when you go online, right? You might have some women on here who are very light skinned, on the borderline of white, but for the most part, okay, you have Taís Araújo here. You have a few black women. Okay, now this is the most beautiful black women of Brazil. Somebody made a video like that, but for the most part, you're going to see mostly women who fall closer to the European standard. I see now that maybe you have a few more videos here because of YouTube and blogs and websites. People are starting to put up more pictures of, we'll say, women of color, whether they're black or brown. But generally, in Brazil's media, you're going to see mostly white-looking women. Okay, so this goes into what he said here. He wants to show off the white girl. When he was with black girls, he didn't want to show them off. It was kind of like he was embarrassed. It was like I said before, that black men they'll ficar, they'll hang out, they'll get down with black women, but when it's time to show up publicly holding hands with a woman, they don't want to be seen with black women. And this guy happened to catch himself because he's surrounded by the ideal, like, no, get your white girl, even from his own family. We often talk about this in the black community in the United States, saying, oh, well, why are you dating that white girl? You don't like what your mother looked like. You don't like what your sister looked like. Here you have a situation where the black women of the family are telling him, hey, go get you a white girl. The white girls are always prettier. But he saw it. He was dealing with his own inner thoughts, and he come to understand, like, damn, I'm doing this because it's a status thing. Because the fellas that he's hanging out with, they're all like deifying white women. Like, dude, go get you a white girl. And he had to look within and see his own identity to find out, like, wow, what am I doing here? Let me see what else here I wanted to talk about. Okay, so again, this was a big story last year. The 17-year-old, I think he's 18 or 19 now, Endrique. And it says right here, I told my friends he liked his women blonde with blue eyes. People were roasting him online because, like, dude, and it was just like everybody was like, the girl seemed like she was a gold digger, what they call a Maria Chuteira. It's talking about women who just hang out at the soccer fields waiting to catch a rich soccer player. And when it's talking about the black soccer players, they almost always are going to choose whiter women. And that speaks specifically here in 2018, the whitening process and transfer of black money continues. 76% of Brazil's World Cup stars marry white women, or they're with white girls. Is love really colorblind? Because if that's the case, how come none of them have black girlfriends, or very few of them? Why do black soccer players who denounce experiences with racism always seem to have white wives? Of course, we know the agenda. The agenda says we need to erase the black population by encouraging them to mix with whiter partners. This is the article. I never got around to making a video of it because it's kind of a long article, but this guy goes into it. This is from December 2016. He says palmitagem exists because I'm an example. Palmitagem is the idea that black men prefer dating, marrying, having families and long-term relationships with white women. They call it palmitagem. This black man reflects on growing up in Rio and how the culture and racial hierarchy influences the adoration of white girls. So besides this article here, which is obviously a lot longer, the video that I just reacted to today, I mean, it's up there with it because this guy is explaining, how the culture influences people there. And when you have a Eurocentric value of beauty, this is how people react. So then you get into the question of palmitagem. Some people are calling for Afrocentric love because they say, in addition to taking care of ourselves, a detoxification process from a Eurocentric standard that affects us all is necessary. We need to recognize our palmitagem and the preference for white skin. The brother in the video talked about, hey, I admire black women. I drool over black women. My preference is black women. This is like my man Rodrigo. I'm supposed to talk to Rodrigo one day this week. I did a video featuring him about a month ago. He said, I want my son to look like me. The only way to do that is to marry a black woman, right? So I'm saying you find black men here and there who do openly profess, or just acknowledge, like, look, I prefer black women. Why wouldn't I want to have kids that look like myself? In order to do that, I need to have a black woman. You got more and more people that are taking that. Like I said, black Brazilians are promoting what's called a more parental black love now. And it's starting to spread. But still, when you get images like this every day on TV, now these are some TV hosts from Brazil. Again, when you turn on television in Brazil, you think you're in Scandinavia, some people say. Of course, Gloria Maria was one of the most famous journalists in Brazil, one of the top, first top black journalists in the country. She died, I think it's been like 2 years now. But generally, and foreigners and Brazilians alike have talked about this, turning on the TV in Brazil in the morning, checking out the morning shows, and you don't see a black woman on these shows. So then what is the connection between the promotion, your peers all telling you, hey, the white girl is better, get you a white girl, turning on the TV, looking at the advertisements everywhere in the magazines, looking at the fashion shows and seeing the white girls everywhere? How does that play on the psyche of the black mind in a country that openly said we want to get rid of black people through the mixing process? So anyway, like I said, mad props for what this brother had to say. He spoke openly, and he just gave some insight into what goes into, the choices that a lot of black men make. And he's speaking specifically on Rio, but arguably what he's saying applies to the whole country. So anyway, what did you guys think about today's video? Definitely would love to hear your thoughts on it. Drop a comment in the comment section. Just, if you could, just give a like to this video. Definitely helps with the Google algorithms. Share this video. That helps get the video out there. I think there's a lot of people who would probably connect with this video, considering the conversation going on in the US now. Definitely subscribe to this channel and click on that notification bell so you'll be alerted when I put up a new video. With that said, I'm going to end this video here and request that you all come back. Check out the next video that I post here at Black Brazil Today.